All right, so you're thinking about a career as a communication manager.
Definitely a hot field right now.
It really is, but it's also a lot more than it used to be. It's not just about, being good at writing or public speaking anymore.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
highly strategic. It's fast-paced,
Crazy competitive, too.
really competitive. And that's actually, a big part of what we're diving into today.
We're going to really dissect what it takes to not just be a communication manager, but to excel.
Right.
And to help us with this, we're tapping into insights from RoleCatcher.
They've really got their fingers on the pulse of the job market.
Yeah, they do, and they provide some great insights into the whole application process.
Yeah, it's not just about, here's what the job is, but here's how you actually land it,
Exactly. It's like giving you that competitive edge.
which is key in this environment, right?
It really is. Now, before we get into the whole how to land the job thing,
Sure.
let's break down what a communication manager actually does.
Yeah, because it's definitely evolved, like you said.
So, beyond the fancy title, what are we really talking about here?
Well, it's really about shaping the entire communication strategy for an organization.
Okay, so it's big picture stuff.
Absolutely. It's about defining the voice, managing how they respond to crises, and engaging with the public.
And it's not just external, right?
Exactly. It's also about making sure everyone internally is on the same page.
So you're almost like a conductor in a way,
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
keeping everybody in sync. And in today's world, with social media, everything moving so fast,
Oh, the pace is relentless.
it's high pressure.
Absolutely. And you need to be comfortable pivoting on a dime, dealing with things as they come up.
Which probably means you need a pretty diverse skill set.
You really do. And you need to be constantly learning. One thing RoleCatcher really stresses is this idea of adaptability.
Makes sense. The moment you think you've got it figured out, everything changes.
Exactly. So it's not for the faint of heart.
But it sounds exciting. I mean, this isn't like a stuffy old office job where you're doing the same thing every day.
Not at all. There's a lot of variety. You
Yeah.
could be, crafting a social media campaign one day, and the next you're drafting a crisis communication plan because something blew up online.
Right. And that kind of variety probably also allows you to specialize a bit, right? I saw RoleCatcher mention niches like digital marketing, crisis communication.
Yeah, and that's where you can really, carve out your space, become an expert in a particular area.
So even within being a communication manager, there's a lot of different paths you can take.
A lot of different paths, and that's, I think what makes it so appealing to a lot of people.
For sure. So it's not just one size fits all.
No, not at all.
But I imagine with all this variety and specialization, it can be kind of tough to stand out.
Oh, absolutely. The competition is fierce, like we said.
Which is, I guess, where RoleCatcher's insights become really valuable, right?
Exact.
They help you navigate that crowded job market.
Right, because they're not just looking at the job itself, but they're analyzing thousands of job postings. They're looking at resumes.
So they're seeing what works.
They're seeing what works and what doesn't. And perhaps even more importantly, they're figuring out what it is that those AI-powered recruitment systems are really looking for.
Okay, the AI piece of this has got me really curious. So let's dig into that next. What is it about RoleCatcher's approach that helps you get past those digital gatekeepers and into that yes pile?
Well, it's kind of like this, those old arcade games
Mm.
where you had to put the coin in just right to get it to start.
Yeah, I remember those days.
It's a little bit like that. These AI systems, they're looking for very specific things.
So it's not really about tricking them. It's more like...
It's about speaking their language,
Exactly.
figuring out what makes them tick.
Right. And RoleCatcher helps you do that. They've got this tool, a CV and resume analysis tool, that's powered by AI.
Okay, so you upload your resume and it tells you what the AI sees, basically. It analyzes it, compares it to industry standards, to the specific requirements of those communication manager roles.
That's actually pretty cool.
It is, and it can be really eye-opening because it highlights things you might not even think about, like keyword density, for example.
Ah, so you're using the right words, but are you using them enough?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're using words that you think sound impressive, but the AI doesn't even care about them.
Right, because it's all algorithm driven.
Exactly. And then it looks at the relevance of your skills, your experience, how well it all lines up with the jobs you want.
So it's kind of like getting feedback from a recruiter, but it's all automated.
In a way, yes.
Hmm.
Except this recruiter has analyzed thousands of resumes.
It's like having a super recruiter in your pocket.
That's a good way to put it.
So that's the resume part, but what about the actual interview? Because that's a whole other beast.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And RoleCatcher has you covered there, too. They have this database of interview questions.
Oh,
Over 120,000 of them.
120,000. Seriously.
Yeah, and they're all specific to communication and related fields.
So you're not just getting those generic, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses kind of questions.
No, these are tailored to the actual roles you're interested in. Like, they have questions specifically for crisis communication managers, for example.
Oh, wow. So you can really tailor your preparation,
Exactly. You can practice with questions that are actually likely to come up in your interview.
which, let's be honest, is a lot better than just trying to wing it.
Oh, absolutely. Winging it in this job market is, well, it's not a recipe for success.
Not at all. But even with practice, interviews can still be nerve-wracking.
Totally. But RoleCatcher actually takes it a step further. They don't just give you the questions, they help you refine your interview skills.
Okay, now that sounds really valuable. How do they do that?
So, with their premium subscription, you can actually record yourself answering these practice questions.
So you can see how you come across.
Exactly. And here's the really cool part. Their AI will actually analyze your delivery.
No way.
Yeah, it looks at your tone of voice, your pacing, even your body language if you're doing a video interview. And then it gives you feedback.
It's like having a personal coach, but it's all AI powered.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
can be so helpful because it might pick up on things you're not even aware of. Like maybe you're saying a lot when you get nervous.
Oh, I do that. I hate it.
Right. We all have those little things.
Yeah.
But being aware of them is the first step to fixing them. And the feedback the AI gives you, it can help you become much more aware of how you come across in these high-pressure situations.
That's amazing. It's like having a secret weapon to help you ace those interviews.
Yeah.
So you're saying even with all the prep in the world, the learning doesn't stop once you land that job.
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, you could argue that's when the real learning begins.
Because things are changing so fast.
All the time. And what worked yesterday might be obsolete tomorrow.
Which is, I guess, why RoleCatcher puts so much emphasis on continuous learning.
Right. They're not just trying to get you hired. They want you to stay ahead of the curve.
Which makes a lot of sense. So how does RoleCatcher actually guide you in that continuous learning process? What does that look like?
Well, they've got a ton of resources built into the platform. They point you towards online courses.
Okay, so you can keep your skills sharp.
Yeah, and they're not just random courses either. These are ones they've identified as being super relevant for communication professionals. And they also have information about industry workshops, conferences, networking events.
So you can connect with other people in the field.
Exactly. Because let's face it, a lot of what you learn doesn't come from textbooks. It comes from actually talking to people who are doing the work day in and day out.
Right, sharing those real-world experiences. Which actually reminds me, we were talking earlier about those specialized niches within communication, like crisis communication, digital marketing.
Yeah.
Does RoleCatcher offer any insights into navigating those different paths?
Definitely. In fact, they highlight how those areas often have overlapping skills.
So what you learn in one area could actually benefit you in another.
Absolutely. For example, a strong foundation in crisis communication, that's going to be valuable no matter what area of communication you end up in.
Because things are always going to come up, right? Unexpected challenges. You've got to be ready to adapt.
And that ability to think on your feet, to communicate clearly under pressure, that's something that's always going to be in demand.
No matter what's happening in the world.
Exactly. And, one of the things I really appreciate about RoleCatcher's approach is that they emphasize the importance of transferable skills.
Which is something that I think a lot of people overlook.
They really do. People get so focused on one specific job title, they forget to step back and look at the bigger picture.
And at the end of the day, it's those core communication skills that are really going to serve you well.
100%. It's about being a strong writer, a clear communicator, a strategic thinker. Those skills translate across industries, across roles.
So even if you start out with a clear vision of what kind of communication manager you want to be, it's good to know that you've got options.
Exactly. You might discover a passion for something you didn't even know existed.
That's the beauty of this field, right? It's constantly evolving.
Always something new to learn.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive, to say the least. We've really gone from A to Z on this whole communication manager thing.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. And hopefully our listeners are feeling empowered, informed, maybe even a little bit inspired.
That's the goal.
It really is. Because at the end of the day, it's about more than just landing a job. It's about finding a career path that really lights you up.
Absolutely. And finding the tools and resources that can help you along the way.
And that's where, of course, RoleCatcher comes in. If you haven't already, check them out. They've got a ton of great stuff to help you navigate this crazy world of communication.
They really do.
Until next time, happy communicating, everybody.